Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're listening around the world. A very warm welcome from London in the UK. Here is today's news about electric cars and the future of transport. My name is Martyn Lee, and this is your EV News Daily for Sunday, the 25th of February, 2018. On the podcast today, we'll talk about free Tesla chargers for where you work and strange surveys. But first, Chinese EV maker Geely has invested in Daimler, and they've invested in enough to be the largest single shareholder. Now, Geely already own Lotus, Proton and Volvo since they bought that from Ford in 2010, and earlier this week we were talking about them making a plug-in hybrid version of the V60 model, gorgeous new Volvo, plus the new London black cabs, which are an EV range extender version. So they're investing a load of money in the future of transport. Plus, of course, they recently spun off Polestar from Volvo to make expensive high-end luxury cars. Now, it seems that Geely's owner, a gentleman called Li Shifu, according to different reports that I've read today, he's made the investment personally. Some of the reports said that Geely have made the investment. Some said that he's made the investment. I guess as he's the owner, it's one and the same. It's under 10%, just under 10% of Daimler, around £6.4 billion or $9 billion US dollars. So what's behind the move? Well, the owner of Geely is a billionaire, right? So he's clearly a good businessman. So he's thinking about the future on the long term. The Mercedes EQ brand has been getting a load of publicity, and, well, from the details that we've seen so far, is really well regarded in terms of their battery technology, their progress, their drivetrains, the moves they've been making. Of course, there are economy of scales as well, like the new London black cab has some recognisable bits and switchgear from a Volvo, for example. So could we see some Mercedes bits turning up in a Geely car? I mean, look, it's just all kind of thinking out loud for now, but it's an interesting investment to make. Well, next, let's talk about how EVs are written about by the mainstream media. It is important to see the general kind of consensus of opinion that's out there at the moment. Well, it's a Sunday, and as people sit down to read their Sunday newspaper supplement, although I guess fewer and fewer of those are doing so these days thanks to the internet, let's see what the Sunday Times newspaper here in the UK had to say about EVs. They say 2,000 people were surveyed, and 16% of them said their next car would be an electric car or a plug-in hybrid, or a soft hybrid, actually. And yet it says a third of those people, a third of the 16%, would have to drive 10 miles to even charge their car. And that's when the article seems to get a little bit strange, because most people who live in a house or an apartment, I think most of them probably have electricity. I mean, at night time when it gets dark, they probably turn the lights on. So I don't know why the newspaper's saying that you've got to drive 10 miles to go and charge your car. And then the article gets even slightly weirder. Well, the survey they're reporting was done by CarWow, and CarWow is a great website, a great company. They make brilliant videos of car reviews, amongst many other things, and so very well regarded, but a weird survey. So we need to know more details about what CarWow have been doing, because who did they ask to say that 2% of those current electric car owners have a charger at home? 2%. Think about that. 2%, according to CarWow, 2% of electric car owners have a charger at home. It doesn't make any sense. Any way that I think about it, I've been trying to kind of rationalise it today and think, maybe they only asked plug-in hybrid owners, maybe they only asked soft hybrid owners because then they won't be plugging in. They asked Toyota Prius owners, they wouldn't need to plug in. 2% is so wildly wrong. But we need to know what the question was they asked. But the way it's been reported, 2% of EV owners have a charger at home. Must be wrong. There are 140,000 EVs in the UK, and 100,000 home chargers have been installed, right? So that's insane already. Well, Andrew Hooks is the COO of CarWow, and I tried to connect with him on Twitter today to reach out to him and ask about the methodology of the survey and some more details to get that 2% figure. He doesn't seem to be on social media, so when it's a brand new working week and their PR are back in the office on Monday, we will follow that up. Well, as for where and when you charge, one of the things that was on the podcast last week was about a fairly large US study of Nissan Leaf owners who had charging installed both at home and at work, and with those that had it in both places, 96% of all their charging instances were done in either location, home or work. And now Tesla are getting into the workplace charging thing. Tesla has announced it wants to work with large workplaces to install free chargers for Tesla owners as long as the employer picks up the tab for the electricity. Now, for most people, they're at work, 8-10 hours a day? Mostly. Some work hard, some work less. And then they're at home for maybe another 8, 10, 12, 14 hours or so. So between those locations, their charging is pretty much covered off. Now, with a Tesla charger, you could, if you don't have charging at home, just charge at work. Obviously, all Teslas have really big batteries, and you're there for 8 hours a day, so you could, in theory, only ever charge at work. Well, moving on, and the VW Group has posted record earnings on Friday earlier this week. Now, I'm pretty torn about this because I still own a Golf, actually. I love VW quality. I've had 2 Golfs now, and I really hate them for their culture on emissions and the way that they treated people and lied about what they were doing. Animal testing as well, most recently in the news, to further their diesel agenda. So on one hand, Dieselgate was a turning point, and hopefully a humiliating turning point for the people involved. And I for one, said I would never buy another brand new VW. But their investment into electrification is really big. And you can see that from the top of the company, the direction they're going in, and I do agree with that. So I'm kind of torn. Now, the Dieselgate emissions scandal has cost them $30 billion already. It's about 21.5 billion pounds, with more set aside as well. However, profit is up €14 million, and that's important because it enables that investment to go into electric cars. A company that's really struggling isn't going to make that discretionary investment, if you like, but big profits for VW, big investments in EVs. And actually, the profits they were saying was coming from the higher end, the likes of Audi and Porsche as well. And talking of Audi and Porsche, well, of course, coming soon, the e-tron and the Mission E, respectively. Well, Tesla are beta testing their new Autopilot. Tesla's already got billions of miles logged for their neural network in terms of learning about Tesla Autopilot version 2, and now we hear that a new version of it's coming very soon. Lots of improvements under the skin, mostly. We heard a few weeks ago from Elon Musk saying that a new version was coming, so I guess that's probably what this is. The question that's still being asked, though, what's better, Autopilot 1 or Autopilot 2? I've been looking at some used Teslas, used official Teslas on the UK site, and they do make a point, even I don't know whether that's like an official thing or not, but they do make a point of saying comes with Autopilot 1 as a big selling point. I'm not sure they meant to make it come across as such a big selling point. And finally, the legendary Porsche 911. Well, Porsche haven't exactly made a ringing endorsement for electrification of the 911, but they've recently said, from a couple of years ago, it's never going to happen, to more recently, they wouldn't rule it out. So that's the most positive they've been. Well, thank you for listening today. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'd love to spread the word about electric cars. Please do share this with at least one person who might be interested. A reminder, listen to all of our previous podcasts on iTunes and now on Google Play, actually, for your Android devices. And as of yesterday morning, now on Spotify's somewhat more curated podcast platform. So really chuffed that they let us on there. It would mean a lot if you could take 2 minutes to leave a quick review, by the way, and a little star rating of the podcast. And if you have an Amazon Echo, download our flash briefing by searching for EV News Daily. Say hi on Twitter. We're at EV News Daily, and I will catch you for the start of a brand new week tomorrow morning on Monday.